He sighed. Learn how to die and you learn how to live. I noticed that he quivered now when he moved his hands. His glasses hung around his neck, and when he lifted them to his eyes, they slid around his temples as if he were trying to put them on someone else in the dark. I reached over to help guide them into his ears. Thank you, Mori whispered. He smiled when my hand brushed up against his head. The slightest human contact was immediate joy. Mitch, can I tell you something? Of course, I said. You might not like it. Why not? Well, the truth is, if you really listen to that bird on your shoulder, if you accept that you can die at any time, then you might not be as ambitious as you are, correct? I forced a small grin. The things you spend as much time on all this work you do might not seem as important. You might have to make room for some more spiritual things, correct? Spiritual things? You heard that word, don't you? Spiritual. You think it's touchy feely stuff? Well, I said. He tried to wink a bad try, and I broke down and laughed. Mitch, he had, he said, laughing along. Even I don't know what spiritual development really means, but I do know we are deficient in some way. We are too involved in materialistic things and they don't satisfy us. The loving relationships we have, the universe around us, we take these things for granted.
हम्म,
We nodded towards the window.
क्या चला बोला?
The important point है ना
हम्म,
emphasize के लिए.
हम्म,
With the sunshine streaming in, you see that you can go out there outside anytime. You can run up down the block and go crazy. I can't do that. I can't go out. I can't run. I can't be out there without fear of getting sick. But you know what? I appreciate that window more than you do appreciate it. Yes, I look out that window every day. I notice the change in the trees, how strong the wind is blowing. If it's as if I can see time actually passing through that window pane. Because I know my time is almost done, I'm drawn to nature like I'm seeing it for the first time. He stopped for a moment. We both just looked outside the window. I tried to see what he saw. I tried to see time and seasons. My life passing in slow motion. Murray dropped his head slightly and curled it toward his shoulder. Is it today, little bird? He asked. Is it today? Letters from around the world kept coming to Murray, thanks to the nightline
हम्म,
appearances. He would sit when he was up to it and dictate the responses to friends and family who gathered for their letter writing sessions. One Sunday, when his son Rob and John were home, they all gathered in the living room. Maurice sat in his wheelchair, his skinny legs under a blanket. When he got cold, one of his helpers draped a nylon jacket over his shoulders. What's the first letter? Maurice said. A colleague read a note from a woman named Nancy who had lost her mother to ALS. She wrote to say how much she had suffered through the loss and how she knew the Murray must be suffering too.
हम्म,
All right, Maurice said. When the reading was complete, he shut his eyes. Let's start by saying, Dear Nancy, you touched me very much with your story, but your mother, about your mother. and I understand what you went through. There is sadness and suffering on both paths. Droddage grieving has been good for me, and I hope it has been good for you also. You might want to change that last line, Rob said. Mori thought for a second and then said, "You're right. How about I hope you can find the healing power in growing? Is that better?" Add thank you, Muri said. Another letter was read from a woman named Jen who was thanking him for his inspiration on the Nightline program. She referred to him as a prophet. Prophet
prophet
मतलब
prophet मतलब वो जो वो preacher या ऐसा रहता है ना गुरु.
this is very high compliment, said a colleague. A prophet. Muri made a face. He obviously didn't agree with the assessment. Let's thank her for her high praise and tell her I'm glad my words were something to her. And don't forget to sign. Thank you, Muri. There was a letter from a man in England who had lost his mother and asked Muri to help him contact her through the spiritual world. There was a letter from a couple who wanted to drive to Boston to meet him. There was a long letter from a former graduate student who wrote about her life after the university. It told of a murder, suicide, and 3 trillion
Stillborn
stillborn
birds.
births.
3 stillborn birds.
It told of a mother who died from alias. It expressed a fear that the daughter, would also contact the deceased. It went on and on. 2 pages, 3 pages, 4 pages. Maurice real tale. When it was finally finished, he said softly, "Well, what do we answer?" The group was quiet. Finally, Rob said, "How about thanks for your long letter?" Everyone laughed. Muri looked at his son and